Okay, hello and welcome to February. This is Luna and Morpho, and we are going to be doing a card reading kind of on the energies of this month. So we're going to be pulling from some different decks. Also, this is Lindsay, as you guys know, if you've been following us, and I am Tilly. So today we're going to be pulling from some different decks. We're going to be pulling from the Keepers of the Light to kind of get a guide or like a kind of like a mentor, key code mentor for the month. And then we're going to be pulling from the Sacred Revels Oracle to kind of get an overall message for the month from us. And then Lindsay, what have you got?
So then we will be pulling one major arcana card from the Reverie Tarot deck, really to give us the overall theme or overall energy of the month of February. And then from the same deck, we're going to pull from the minor arcana and see what other details we need to know about the month ahead. So it might be a piece of advice, it might be something to look out for, really where to focus our energy this month. And I'm really excited about it.
Yes, yes. So we are going to shuffle on camera. So if you guys just want to take a minute and close your eyes, tune into your heart, kind of tuning into February, it's the energy of February while we shuffle. This is a kind of collective reading for everyone watching. So your intention is important here.
Also, maybe just thinking about while you're taking a few deep breaths and settling in here, what your hopes and wishes are for the month of February. If there's anything in particular you have been praying about, hoping for, setting intentions around, just bringing that into your awareness in this moment. Just kind of holding some presence in your heart, just checking in. How are you feeling? Where are you at? Okay. Tilly, would you like to start us off with our guide for the month?
Yeah, so there's actually two that wanted to come out, which I was like, okay, we will take them both. One of them is Sanat Kamara, which is a light activation. I love
Love
this with the
him.
light link in the back, and it says, shine your light. Your internal guidance is coming through loud and clear. And we also have Horus, Cosmic Gateway. And this one says, your thoughts are magnetic and powerful. Miraculous changes are occurring. Beautiful. I love these. Yeah. These both kind of give me a vibe about like how you were saying earlier, like kind of choosing and like being kind of a force in your life as opposed to letting life just like kind of happen to you and doing these things, like really showing up and being a light and being a force. And also I love that, yeah, because it's like your thoughts are magnetic and powerful. And then this one is also like shine your light. And so I feel like there's a lot of yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like kind of decision making this month about what you choose to feed. And it's interesting because in my yoga class, my friend does taught a yoga class, and she was talking about that we all have two voices in our head. And there's one that is telling you all the reasons that it won't work and that it can't happen. And there's that one. And then there's a voice that's like, but I really want this and I know I can do it. And there's those two voices going on in our heads all the time. And so kind of choosing what voice you decide to listen to and what voice you're giving energy to. There's also a Native American story about the two wolves inside of you, then which one you choose to feed is the one that's going to win the battle, basically, because it gets larger and stronger. And so I'm kind of having, it's interesting, I'm kind of getting that message from here of like kind of choosing the positive, choosing the positive thoughts, choosing the goal that you really want to go for, really letting the voice of that I can do this and things can go my way, and that really went out this month, and just really be conscious of choosing those things. Do you get any things from these cards, Lindsay, or any messages coming through?
Yeah, well, every time I get the Horus card and I see Horus, I just think of manifestation. especially with this cosmic gateway card, it's almost like there is a portal open, there's a window of time open, there's the energy is right for you to create powerfully and to manifest. And I know that manifestation is such a buzzword nowadays, but when I'm talking about manifestation, I mean creating from the heart, creating from your truth, creating from your most authentic self, what you truly, truly want, not just what you desire on the surface, but like to have things like material items, right? Like we would all probably like to manifest more money, or I know a lot of us are wanting to manifest love, to have someone, to not feel lonely, to even with money to have us feel more secure. But underneath the desire to change our feelings, what do you want to create? What do you want to experience? Like when you receive that money, what do you want to do with it? How do you want to live it? How do you want to experience it? When the love does come in, what do you want that to feel like, be like, look like? What do you want the experience to change in you or maybe create within you? And thinking about the deeper layers of why you want what you want can help you to manifest and help you to create from a very authentic place. And it's interesting that Sanat Kumara came up too, because he is actually one of my favorite guides. He comes to me in meditation all the time. And Sanat Kumara to me is a leader of the light, a leader of your higher self, a leader of, as Tilly was saying, that voice inside of you that only wants the best for you, that knows what you deserve, that knows what you desire, that is a beacon of hope and a beacon of love, not only for yourself, not only for your life, but for others as well. So I feel like with those two cards in conjunction, there's an added layer of be careful and in a way of like, or decide, choose not only which voice you want to feed, but know that whichever voice, whatever wolf you're feeding, that is going to be your reality. I feel like February is a month that is really setting us up to consciously create in a very streamlined way, which is very exciting. It's a very uplifting energy. I feel like just as I'm channeling it and talking about it, I'm being flooded with joy and positivity and just energy of being really excited about what's to come. So some ways to maybe work with these guides this month. I know Horus, I always think of the Eye of Horus, if you've heard of that. It's kind of this Egyptian eye that they carved and drew on a lot of hieroglyphs. And it also reminds me of the evil eye as well. So if you're not familiar with what the evil eye is, it can sound scary because you're like, an evil eye, ugh. But actually the Eye of Horus, the evil eye, is a protection against fear. It's a protection against that voice in your head that's asking you, yeah, of course, is asking you to just play it safe, or being afraid of failure, afraid of taking a risk. That I is kind of saying, hey, I see you, fear, and instead of letting you control me or maybe allowing you to influence my next decision, I'm gonna look at you, look fear in the eyes and say, I love you. It's okay. I'm allowed to be afraid. I can hold this fear inside of my body. It can allow it to move through me, but it's not going to stop me. So for some reason, I'm just seeing that Eye of Horus being very present this month for many of you. It might be a sign and symbol that you see. And then Sunat Kamara, I love that he's holding this staff, and it's kind of reminding me of the Magician card in the tarot. And so I'm just thinking of a magic wand. I wonder if with Sunat Kamara, there's going to be, I'm just seeing like elements of light of this magic wand, or even like the little stars emoji, the little sparkles emoji coming up, just something with things being light, sparkly. And for some reason, maybe a magic wand is going to be a sign for some of you as well. But is there anything else that you're feeling called to add about these two guides, Tilly, or how we can call them into our practices in the month of February?
Um, no, I love that message. I do have like one little thing that is coming in, and it is kind of it's kind of going along the lines of like what you're choosing to focus on will expand. Like I said, like this is like kind of a portal for expansion of whatever it is that you're focusing on. And so this guy is here to like have us focus on the light. But I heard this really good, it was put in such a beautiful way, and it was a rock climber, and he said the first rule of rock climbing is to never look where you don't want to go. And so it's like talking about like, yeah, if you think of yourself as like rock climbing, you could like look down and just be paralyzed by fear, or you could look and be like, okay, where can I like get higher in this, or where can I reach my goal, or how can I reach my goal, and focusing on the goal instead of focusing on like, well, I like where you don't want to go. And so I just love that little analogy, and it just kind of hit me. So I was like, oh, I really love that. So I just wanted to bring that in of like kind of February, just thinking of that and being like, okay, where is my focus, and where are the majority of my thoughts? Are they in fear? Are they in light? Are they in, are they positive? Are they, negative or doom and gloom? And just really focusing on that, because whatever it is going to expand. So really, really cool. And then, I mean, it always does, but it seems like this like kind of feels like a portal this month of like extra.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. And then the other card I got is collaborative dreaming.
Ooh.
And this just gives me a Spider Woman vibes. Like I kind of have this feeling of things being woven together, and things, it's like if this year is a tapestry, we're kind of at the beginning, and it kind of feels like you may be meeting people that can help collaborate on your dream, or help collaborate on your vision, or like right time, right place, and really like divine connection. Kind of that feeling is one thing I'm getting. And then another thing I'm getting is just like kind of community. I'm really feeling like some community things, or maybe even a relationship you already have, like co-creating something really beautiful together and beginning to weave something with other people. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. But what are you getting anything?
Yeah. Similarly, I'm getting this message with like we just talked about with Horus and Sunat Kumara. When we're focusing our attention towards what we want, you're not only holding that vision for yourself, but we're holding a vision for the collective as well. So think not only about what you want to create in your own life, but what do you want to be created in the world? What kind of collective energy are you hoping for? Are you praying for? Are you wishing for? Are you intending, not only for us now, but even for generations to come? There's something about collective dreaming that is just bringing me this message of hold the highest vision for the collective at this time. And I don't know why February is a very potent time. Maybe it's because this portal is open. There's this energetic boost that we all have when it comes to our creation. So as you are kind of leaning into that energetic boost to be like, okay, I can like really travel far very quickly. I can set prayers and intentions and see them manifest and be created for myself. Remember to hold those intentions for the collective as well, because we need each other. Right? The only way that change is really going to be created, the only way that we're going to live in a closer unity to one another and peace with one another is if enough of us hold the vision and believe that it's possible. And I think the world always needs that, but maybe there's a particular time in February right now where that thought and that prayer has a potential to travel faster or have a larger impact in the on the energetic side of things. So that's really what's coming through for that card, is just a reminder to hold a higher vision for the world, and be careful not to get caught in the fear of what could come. Right? I know in America it's an election year, which is having a lot of people feeling really on edge. There's a lot of global conflicts happening right now that have people on edge. There's a lot of talk about what could happen in the future that brings up feelings of fear for many people. And so be conscious of how you are putting your energy towards those timelines, towards those realities. Like with the two wolves, what you feed will grow, will win the battle. So focus on leaning into a higher vision for the world that you hope to see in the future, a world that, at least in my vision, has kindness towards one another. We're not judging each other. We're not at each other's throats for differing in opinion. We're open and willing to learn from one another and to communicate with respect. So holding that vision, whatever yours is, could be something different than mine, but holding that vision and knowing that the world needs that right now. And February is a really potent time for us to keep that in mind.
Mm. It reminds me of something I read last night. I'm reading a book called Ceremony, and it's by Brianna West, and it's amazing. It's a bunch of, I want to say it's like poems that are thoughts that are just really profound. Like I swear every page is so amazing. And in it, it's talking about like at the end of the day, when there's like no finger to point or no thing to do? Like, how are you choosing to live? Like, what are you going to do with your life? And it kept saying that, what are you going to do with your life? And it was saying like, yeah, there's people fighting all over the world, and what are you going to do? And yeah, there's this happening, and then what are you going to do with your life? And yeah, there's, sickness, and there's things, and what are you going to do with your life? And it is just constantly bringing you back to this message of like, yes, there's so much going on in the world, and we can easily buy into this like thing, but it's like, how am I going to show up during the election, for example? Like, how am I going to choose to show up during the election with my life and what is going on, like, and not of like, how am I going to vote, but how am I going to show up in love for people and understanding and compassion for these things? Like, how am I going to show up and contribute to that conversation? And what am I going to contribute to the conversation? Is it going to be, anger and rage and this, or is it going to be like, or I'm right in this and this, or is it going to be compassion, understanding and this? Or, I mean, that's just like one little thing, but it's like, how am I going to show up to this, and how am I going to show up to this? And then also like, there's also a piece of like, what am I contributing to any environment that I'm in? You can show up to anywhere, and you can either influence the energy or be influenced by it. And so I think there's something with February too of like, okay, what are you going to show up as in any situation, and just kind of deciding like, okay, I'm going to be this frequency no matter where I go or no matter what I do, and this is how am I going to choose to live my life no matter what's happening around me, and like what I choose to focus on. So I don't know, that just like wanted to come in, and it was really profound for me to read last night. I wish I could find it on my phone. Let me see if I can just find it really quick. Do you want to dive into your cards though, and I'll see if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle our major arcana cards for our kind of overall energy for the month. And I'm looking for one card here. There it is. Flew out of the deck. Ooh, it's the Justice card. How interesting. Justice. So the Justice card is major arcana card number 11. And 11 is a master number that's also very associated with manifestation. Definitely correlated to magic in many ways. I mean, when you think of 11, I always think of 11, make a wish, right? From being a kid. That's always what I heard. So 11 does have this magical energy to it, but it's also very, very powerful. Very powerful. It's interesting that the 11 is the Justice card, right? In the tarot, because there's something about two ones being put together. If one is the energy of manifestation and creation, two ones next to one another are these pillars of strength, are these pillars of creation that I'm just hearing for some reason it kind of keeps coming in of these pillars of doing what's right, of taking the right action. And by right, that is going to be subjective. It's going to be different for everybody. But there's something about in the month of February, February is month 2 of the year, right? Which is 1 + 1 = 2. So there's something about two equal energies coming together to create or become something else. Kind of like with collective dreaming, it's like if I hold a vision and Tilly holds a vision, and we're holding that vision for each other and together, there's a unity that's created from that. There's a power that comes from that. And that's kind of being represented in this 11 card. You can see that there are these scales in the background and they're balanced. So in general, in the tarot, the Justice card tends to talk about karma. And what have we all heard about karma growing up, right? Karma is what she is, right? And so there's something with this that I think has kind of created an illusion in our minds that karma is something bad, that karma is out to get us, that karma is waiting for the other shoe to drop, that karma is always something looming around, making sure like, are you doing the right thing? Are you not doing the right thing? Da, 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 da. But in reality, karma is something that's incredibly loving. It's just like the infinity symbol of what you put out in the world comes back to you. Again, like we're talking about with the two wolves, when you're putting out love, when you're putting out collective wishes of hope for the world and something that is peaceful to many, that's the love and peace that will return to you in some way throughout your life. I think there's something with the Justice card of the overall energy for the month of February that's saying what you put out is going to come back to you. And not just in the month of February, but I think there are certain visions that we've had. I'm even hearing in 2023, I think there were hopes and wishes that people really desired to create in 2023 that just didn't happen. 2023 in general, I think for many people was a very intense emotional year. I think people have really got expanded in the year 2023 in their emotional body. We were experiencing very high highs and probably very low lows. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just living life on the full spectrum and learning that it is okay to be expanded in that way. It doesn't make it easy, but it does help us to grow. So there are certain wishes that didn't come in 2023 for some of you here that are listening to this that have the potential to manifest in February of 2024. There's a wish that is going to be granted. There's some kind of karma that's going to be balanced. It's something that you've put out in the world that is coming back to you in a very loving, beautiful way. And I think the more that we watch our thoughts and feelings about leaning into fear or leaning into love, that's going to determine the way that this creation is coming back to you in your life. And also, I think it's determining the next cycle as well of what we're putting out in February, just keeping in mind that that's what's going to be coming back to us at some point, maybe throughout the year, throughout the next couple of years. So the Justice card is really, really beautiful. The final thing I feel called to say about the overall energy is while we're looking at these two wolves, while we're looking at these two energies, really pay attention to what is truly no longer serving you as far as your thoughts and your energy. Fear will come up. It's very normal. And we're not asking you to be like, oh, fear, no, no fear. Like I'm putting that to the side and bypassing that feeling. Rather, when fear comes up, it's because we've learned to expand now in the year 2023. We've expanded emotionally. We've expanded to be able to hold more fear, more discomfort, more emotional pain at certain times, and more joy and more love and more excitement. Like we can just hold more of any emotion. But for some of you, when fear comes up, instead of pushing it away and pretending like it's not there, how can we allow it to sit in our heart and say, what thought brought this fear on? Maybe the thought is, what if I fail? What if the thought is, what if I'm alone forever? What if the thought is, what if this amazing thing that I just received gets ripped away from me tomorrow, right? Just noticing those thoughts, creating that fear in your body, saying, does this thought serve me? Does this thought serve me? Is it helping me to feed this wolf that I'm choosing or this other wolf that I'm choosing? Which one am I choosing? And is this thought helpful? And then just notice every time it comes up, being able to ask yourself, is this serving me? And if it's no longer serving you, be willing to let it go. The Justice card is about letting things go that no longer serve us, to set boundaries around what's not helpful to us, what's not helping us grow, what's not in alignment with our truth as well. Really deciding what your truth is, what's true for you, and anything that's not in alignment with that truth, allowing it to exit your field or setting boundaries around it, keeping it at an arm's distance in some way, shape, or form. So just something to think about with this card. And I'm interested to lean into our minor arcana cards and see how they support this message and even clarify the overall energy for the month. So while I shuffle my minor arcana cards, were you able to find what you were looking for, Tilly?
I was. I was, but I just want to add one thing. I love that that's an
Yeah,
11,
please.
which actually goes to 2 in numerology. And a 2 in numerology, something keeps dinging in my house. Okay. But a 2 in numerology does actually represent choices as well. And so there is like a 2 of like 2 different paths that you can take. And it is kind of setting us up for the year. I love that it's like, okay, maybe we started in January and we have these like hopes and dreams. We're like, the year's going to go this way and da da da. And now we're kind of like, okay, like, which am I going to actually follow that? Or am I going to kind of go back into my old patterns? Or am I going to follow am I going to let my soul and my heart inspire me into this? Or am I going to let my mind talk me out of like doing things, anything at all because of fear and such? So I love that that was an 11 and went to a 2. I mean, we really can't make these things up. Okay. So I'm going to read this. It says, once the day has ended and you are done talking about all that is wrong, once you have settled into the dim quiet, what will you have done with your life? Once you are finished criticizing other people and the way they look and who they've chosen to be with and what they are not doing, what will you have done with your own life? Once you are finished waxing poetic about all the wrongs that exist for which there are more than most can comprehend, what will you have done with your own life? Will you have added to the noise or will you have brought clarity? Will you have offered your energy up to the figureheads, the supposed saviors, or will you have harnessed it for your own use? Will you have criticized others' offerings, or will you have made something of what you were given? Will you have just noticed the bad, or will you have added any good? Was your anger an outlet for expression, or was it a tool for change? Did you make ground zero the revolution inside your own heart? Once you have laid down quiet in once you have laid down in your bed quiet, no longer arguing, no longer yearning, nor hoping, and once you rise again in the morning with swollen eyes and silence, what will you have done with your own life? Will your thoughts have been used to construct a new world or pick apart the ruins? Will your words have been used to lift and encourage or suppress and push away? Will your actions have been someone's glimmer of hope or proof that all is hopeless? Will you have done the boldest and most courageous thing, which is to look into your own unconsciousness and see the backdrop from which you project all else? Will you have done what most could not, which is to just simply hold space for what hurts? Though progress is slow, it exists. Evolution is the soul of all that we are. The last moment you spent reading that sentence was experienced trillions of different ways by trillions of different minds and bodies around the world. There is no universal experience. There is only experience and what we choose to do with it. You are not bound to what you perceive and what you think about it. The possibilities for interpretation are limitless. There will always be contrast. There will always be wisdom and wickedness. This is what gives us the freedom to create. Your decision must be this one resounding sentiment, one notion to drive all else, one single question. What will I do with my own life? Ugh, I could ponder
Beautiful.
that for days.
And
So
can you say who that's by and what the title of it is one more time?
yeah, so the book is such a good book. You guys, like every single thing in here is incredibly amazing. It's called Ceremony and it's by Brianna West. And I feel like you could use this as a daily devotional book. I love daily devotional books because they kind of inspire a meditation or a deep thought for the day. Um, but I wanted to show you the book so you guys know exactly. I don't know, why isn't it? Okay. Well, Brianna.
Well, thank you for saying it again because that was beautiful. And I'd love to find that and read it again.
Yeah, here's this. Oh, sorry, you guys. Okay, if this was a little more planned out, this would have been anyway. We're doing this off the cusp, so the cuff, I mean. So the book is called Ceremony. It's pretty easy and it's by Brianna West. And the cover has like a gold, it's white and gold. And it's really, really beautiful. And I love using it as a daily devotion. Like last night, I just couldn't stop reading it because there was so many, like everything she said was profound. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's really good. It's really, really good. So yeah,
Beautiful.
there's
Thanks
that.
for reading that. I love it.
If it,
I love it.
it it felt very divine that it was like last night and then this thing of like these choices and these things and it's like the choice is always like what will I do with what's going on, and we have infinite ways to do things with what's happening, and one of them is to be like buy into it and go into it and feed it and be like, oh, it really is the worst and everything's falling apart, and it's like feeding, it's like just talking about all the ruins of things instead of, okay, yeah, and or I can create something really beautiful from something new and something amazing, and there's so much hope in the world and there's so much beauty in the world and there's so much this and there's so much love. And so there's these two things, and what are you choosing to feed in February?
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's take a look at these minor arcana cards and see how they're supporting this message, or maybe they have a brand new message for us. So the first message we have is in the Nine of Pentacles. So the Nine of Pentacles looks like this. And it's so beautiful because depending on how you look at this card, you could see a bird landing, or I guess a bird taking off. But I guess if the bird was taking off, it would be taking off backwards. So anyway, I see it as a bird landing on this woman's finger. And the beautiful thing with the Nine of Pentacles is that the Nine of Pentacles represents having everything you need, having everything you need, having everything you need, and it being kind of having it be created on your own. The Nine of Pentacles is a card of self-sufficiency from like a traditional tarot perspective. It can represent having a successful business. There's an entrepreneurial venture saying it will go well. So it's you on your own creating something beautiful and having everything you need because you created it. And I feel like this message is perfectly lining up with everything that we're saying of, can you trust in the month of February that you have everything you need because you are creating that for yourself? And if you can't trust that, if you look at this card and you're like, actually, I can't trust that I'm giving myself everything I need because of what's happened in the past, because of, I've tried certain things and they've quote unquote failed, or, whatever is coming up for you with this card is asking you to grow your self-trust that you are not the only person creating your life, but you're co-creating it with God, source, universe, your higher self. You are co-creating with life itself. So there's a beautiful balance also with the number 2 being duality. There's a balance here, just like with the Justice card in these scales. There's a balance between declaring what you want and having the will to make it happen, and also trusting that life is benevolent and wants you to have what you desire. Trusting that life is always looking out for you. And even if you can't see how something's going to end up, doesn't mean that you're not on the journey to make that thing happen. It will ebb and flow. We will hit roadblocks. We will hit bumps in our journey, but it doesn't mean that we're not ultimately arriving at where we're desiring to go. So with the Nine of Pentacles, this is a collective message that you have everything you need this month. Lean into the magic of abundance all around you, even if it's in the smallest ways. How is life proving to you that you actually have everything that you need? Look into that. Because the next card that we have is the Page of Swords. Now, the page represents new beginnings, and the suit of swords is the suit of the mind. So it's our conscious beliefs, our thoughts, the words that we speak come from our thoughts. So the communication that we have really starts in our mind, the way that we're thinking, right? So the Page of Swords talks about a new journey or a new beginning in the mental body. It's a new way of thinking about things. And ultimately, you're beginning to take a journey towards having a clear mind, having a balanced mind, and having the choice and being able to make that choice clearly and in a grounded way. So it's beautiful because making this decision of seeing the two wolves might be totally new for you. It might be a practice to see your point of view and be like, well, which side of the scale is it on? And can I have a balanced view in the middle? It's not just leaning into one way of thinking or another way of thinking and abandoning the other, but it's being able to see, okay, sometimes I have thoughts that disempower me. Sometimes I have thoughts that empower me. And it's okay that I have both because I'm a human being and that's how I'm designed to think. But I don't necessarily have to just be swept into one or the other. I can always make the choice. I can always see, is it helpful for me to examine my negativity at this time? Is it helpful for me to understand what's disempowering me? Let me lean into that side and explore. Or is it more helpful for me to lean into the empowered thought? Is leaning into empowered thoughts actually healthy for me? And I feel called to say this as well. A lot of times we look into this choice. I think the stage 1 is we start looking at this choice and we're like, oh, I don't want to feel anything bad, or I don't want to feel disempowered. So I'm always going to choose the empowering thought. I'm always going to choose the empowering thought. And that is a beautiful idea. But sometimes we are tricking ourselves into being like, it's great, everything's good, high five, like, woo, I'm fine on the surface, when behind it, our emotions don't actually match that thought that we're thinking. So sometimes it can be a little bit of a fake it till you make it, and you kind of allow yourself to lean into these thoughts until your emotional capacity can catch up to that thought. But other times we're actually thinking an empowered thought and saying the right words without actually owning how we truly feel. So there's something with the Justice card and the balance of bringing our mind and our emotions into balance as well. And again, with the Page of Swords, this might be a new journey for you, but be brave, be willing to take that journey, be willing to try something new, be willing to expand your mind, expand your horizons, and try something a little bit different, because ultimately you are on the surface, you have everything you need, you're protected, and being able to change this thought pattern. Even though it might feel scary, even though it might feel new, the universe is supporting you in this. So be brave, move forward. Because the final card we have here as we're tying all these messages together, of course, is the Two of Cups. The Two of Cups.
Hey.
So the cups is a suit that's all about our emotions. And the two is about things coming together. So in this card specifically, the Two of Cups talks about, it can talk about two people coming together, or in my mind, I'm seeing the thoughts and the emotions coming into balance. A lot of times our thoughts and our feelings actually don't match. We can be feeling one thing and thinking something else. We can be thinking one thing and feeling something else. And the way that we bring our thoughts and our emotions into harmony is by allowing it all to exist. Why is it sometimes that I can be thinking positively, but I'm feeling negatively? Well, maybe it's because I'm not allowing myself to really be clear on how I'm feeling. Maybe I'm not really allowing myself to be honest in my thoughts. Or vice versa. Maybe I'm feeling really happy and I'm feeling excited about something, but my brain is giving me all of this fear, right? I can feel really excited about a new person I met, a new relationship coming up, and my mind is like, well, he'll probably be like just all the other ones, or she's probably going to cheat on me like my last partner did. And it's like, why is the mind bringing in this thought frequency that's not matching how I'm feeling on the inside? This is part of what it means to be human, right? This happens to all of us many times a day, probably. But the Two of Cups is asking us to become aware of the gap between these two things, become aware of the dissonance, and be able to bring them into harmony, right? There's a little heart here with these two cups. It's these two things can exist simultaneously. They can coexist. They can empower one another when we become aware and when we make the choice to say, I'm going to bring these two things together. I'm going to allow unity in my body. I'm going to allow resonance to happen throughout me. But in order to have resonance and to feel like my mind and my emotions are matching, I have to become honest about everything that's there. So things might not be black and white. And I think that's the lesson with the number two, with the number of February, again with the Justice card, with the numerology of two, and then the Two of Cups as well. There's something about the lesson in February being, instead of leaning into dualistic thinking, seeing things as black and white, become aware of the differences, because there is duality. We just exist in a place where two black and white things can exist at the same time. But instead of buying into leaning all the way into one or all the way into another, just like a scale, it would be off balance when we're leaning one, and when we're leaning on one or leaning on the other. How can we bring harmony? How can we bring unity between two different things and use our dualistic thinking to ultimately teach us about how to become one, how to become in resonance, how to become in harmony? And that will take us going through the muck of things, going through the confusion, going through two things being different and coexisting at once. It might be a little kerfuffled in the in between before we can really accept it all. So be brave, lean into the mess, lean into the in between, lean into the confusion, and know that by expanding your capacity to hold room for that discomfort, for the fear, for the pain, for the joy, for the love, for the excitement, for all of it, you're ultimately learning how to bring yourself into harmony and resonance and have your mind and your emotions be one, to be congruent with one another. So I really see that being the message, at least from these cards. Do you see anything else, Tilly, or have anything to add?
Yeah, I love on that card how we're talking about like the black and the white, and it's like a black hand and a white hand. I really love that. And then I also had a little message for people who are in relationship of any kind. I feel like in the month of February, there may be an opportunity to feed someone's black wolf or someone's white wolf in your relationships. So we all have it in ourselves. And so I also see this message of like, you may have an opportunity when someone does something this month. Say it's like your partner does something and you can either see it like you're the worst, you're the this, like why are you doing this? Or you can also see the white wolf in them and be like, okay, I'm gonna like actually build you up, and like you're doing so good at this, or I understand why you did this and you should keep going at the thing you want to do, instead of like I almost see someone like doing something and maybe failing or maybe not doing it like right, and instead of being like, oh, you're never gonna get this, being like, you're gonna get this, like, and you can encourage that in someone else. And so it's kind of also like looking for the white wolf in someone, like in a partnership or a friendship or a business relationship of like looking, like it can seem like there's two ways that you could see something, and to kind of nurture the white wolf in other people as well. Like I'm going to nurture the love in you, and you nurture the love in me, and that kind of goes along with the collaborative dreaming card as well. But yeah, I feel like there might be something in relationship where you have the opportunity to feed the wolf in someone else, either by encouragement or um criticism. So like just kind of noticing that maybe coming up this month as well in your relationships. And that might be, you might even notice, you know, have you been doing that in your relationship? Have you been feeding somebody's highest, or have you been, you know, criticizing, like bringing them, are you bringing people into their higher or their lower? Are you inspiring, or are you, you know, criticizing? Like are there, what are the two things? And so I feel like there's kind of a message there as well, just in relationship. And since February is like kind of a love month, are you doing that in yourself, and are you doing it in, how are you doing it outward as well?
Absolutely. And I feel called to add to that too, noticing how you critique other people. Because when we're looking at other people's sides, right, they're very dynamic. But again, if we're generalizing it or like boiling it down into just two sides, when someone's doing something that you're perceiving as bad or frustrating or wrong or confusing, or you're perceiving it as someone's lower self and you critique them, notice, am I doing that within myself? Is that the way I treat myself when my own lower states are here? Because I want to make it clear um, that when we're using like light and dark or black and white, we're not saying that light is good and dark is bad, right? That's not what we're saying here. Both are beautiful, right? Black is beautiful. Black is beautiful. So what we're trying to illuminate here is, instead of again shunning one or shunning the other, we're able to hold room for it all. And that's how we move into the frequency of love. Love is not dualistic. Love is accepting the full spectrum of somebody. So to add to what Tilly is saying as well, when you see your partner, when you see a friend, a loved one, your parents, right, your best friend, in states where they are in their own frequency of fear or of doubt or of shame or of guilt or in whatever way, and you see them struggling with that, can you hold that frequency of, I accept you here, I love you here? It doesn't mean that this isn't difficult for me. This might be very uncomfortable for me, but I love you here because I love that in myself. And when I see myself struggling, when I see myself in my lower states, I am able to say, hey, we're struggling, and that's okay, girl. That's okay, sir. That's okay. I got you. I love you. This is difficult and I love you. This is hard and I love you. And I feel like that is such a code for unconditional love, is being able to see people through the lens of love even when they're doing something that is difficult. So I think, to your point, Tilly, which is so beautiful, of noticing what you feed in others, is holding that vibration of love even when they can't hold that for themselves. And I just think that that is such an incredible code for all of us to carry in February. So thank you so much for adding that in and for saying that. Beautiful.
Yeah, it brings us to like, it also reminds me of like holding a pole of light. Like I'm gonna hold, not light, I'm holding a pole of love. I keep saying like light and dark, it's not like light and dark, it's like holding a pole of love. Like are you feeding love essentially within both of those? And so yeah, I love this how it says shine your light, and it just feels like you're holding this like pole of light for yourself and for others. So Sanat Kamara and Horus are here to help us this month. Beautiful, beautiful.
And
And
I love that they both are holding, they're both light and colored if you look at their clothes, but they're in a dark space. So they are literally holding light in darker spaces. Can you be a frequency of light and be a frequency of love in spaces that maybe aren't resonant with that? Can you still be that? That is so powerful.
yeah, it kind of gives me this imagery that my really good friend Burks gave me one time about a candle in a dark room. And he said the candle infinitely lights up so much bigger than itself. Like just this much, this little tiny light can bring so much light to the darkness. Like it can light up like a room. And yeah, so it's kind of bringing in this message of like, you don't understand the magnitude of you just holding your light. I mean, it can feel like, oh, it's just me, you know, it's just me out here trying to be in like love and light when everyone else is like fighting amongst each other. But you don't understand, there's a message of like, you don't understand how big your light actually spreads, even from like just like a small candle. So yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mhm. Cool. All right. Well, happy February, y'all. This is going to be a really beautiful month, a month of I really feel like decisions on, you know, what are you going to choose to feed? What are you going to do with your life? I love that. I literally feel like I could read that like 10 times and just ponder it. But what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do with your life amongst everything that's happening? What are you going to do? What is your choice? Yeah.
Powerful. We hope that you all have an amazing February. Thank you so much for being with us for this transmission, for this video. If you liked it, please don't forget to like it and give a little thumbs up. It really helps our channel so much. And if you want to see more videos like this one in the future, please click the subscribe button. We would love to have you here to hang out with us and to be a part of the community. Lastly, we just want to invite you to share below in the comments if you feel called of what you're taking away from this video. If you have any other poems that you love to read that you feel like is on par with this message today, or if you know that there's a choice that you need to make in February and this was confirming and validating that decision for you to choose love and you feel like sharing it with us, please leave it below in the comments so that we can support you, so that we can support everyone else in the community. If you don't feel like leaving a comment, feel free to read the comments and maybe give a little like and support other people down there. We definitely want this to be a co-collaborative space, and so we'd absolutely love to hear from you. But again, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next video. We love you so much.